Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sensitivity Doctor. Today I get to talk to Terry Tateossian, a midlife health coach, certified trainer, nutritionist, host of How Good Can It Get podcast, and an immigrant survivor. Someone who experienced puberty, the time in her life where we should feel carefree, safe, and secure. But instead, she was trying to survive. And she was going through the perils of immigration during a time of incredible unrest. If you want to hear more about her story and see if any of it translates into your own trauma story, I really encourage you to take a moment to just listen with compassion and see what happens to our young girls when they experience trauma at a time that they're developing, and how that can translate into what happens to them in their adulthood, for their reproductive health, for their menopause journey. And I hope you take time to really listen to her and see what it's like going through this, and see how you can empower yourself and move forward with power and strength like she did. Enjoy. I was so thrilled to sit down and talk to you, though, because you do help women who feel like we do to feel their best. And I definitely want to pick your brain on some weird things that I just notice in general that I'm like, is this that? And or how do we just feel our best overall? So this is going to be a very honest conversation, and I just cannot wait to hear how you went from slugging through it to really honestly kicking ass. So can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do to help other women transform and feel their best in their midlife?
So I am your midlife bestie who is actually going to be 49 years old next week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I am heading into my 50s in 2026 with a bang. But it wasn't always like that. So in my late 30s, I found myself 80 pounds overweight. I'm 5'3" and I was at 210 pounds. I think my DEXA scan registered me at 50% fat. So, you get the idea. I was having a lot of issues. So, pre-diabetic, ovarian cysts, depression, anxiety, alcohol abuse, all the things. I had my own business back then, still do, just a different kind of business. And I would describe myself, best way I can describe myself really is an overachieving immigrant, workaholic, alcoholic, all the holics. And that did not work out for me. So it affected my health. And so at 37, I started experiencing these weird, strange things. And they were health related. And so I got misled, but in a good way. I completely did not know I was in perimenopause at 37. And so I went over that hump thinking great things about it. That was the trick, is just trick your mind into thinking that it's a good thing, and it's a little bit easier. But yeah, so now my transformation and my experience was so transformative for me on every possible level, internally, externally, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And so I pivoted in midlife. I started a completely different company. I run yoga and fitness retreats for women in the Smoky Mountains, in the Cherokee National Forest.
Oh, I'll have to come. I'm not that far.
Yes, yes. And I also coach women. So I am a certified trainer, nutritionist, emotional eating coach. That was a big one for me. I was a big hump. And so that's what I spend my time doing.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. I'm very excited to pick your brain. Okay, let's start with when people are listening and they hear 37. I think that's one of the new norms that we're starting to unveil, is that this is not just, a couple months of transition for a woman. This is a slow, gradual transition that we need to adjust to. And where are you at now in your health journey? And as far as, is it too personal to ask if you are still perimenopausal? Or are you postmenopausal?
I have nothing personal about anything.
Okay, great. So where are you at?
Yeah, so I started at 37, unbeknownst to me. I was done at 42.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
am now almost 49 next week. So 7 years postmenopausal. And I know you're going to ask me, how did you know you were in perimenopause? And I'm going to answer that. I knew I was in perimenopause when it ended. It never showed up again. And I thought I was pregnant.
Oh, no. Quite the opposite.
Yes.
Where in South Europe did you grow up?
So I was born in Bulgaria. It's on the Black
Okay.
Sea.
Awesome. And when did you move here? You had said as,
Yes. So I left, it was communist back then. I left at the age of 11
oh,
with my
wow.
mother and my stepfather. We lived in a refugee camp for 2 years in Austria. And then we came to New York at the age of 13. So I'm terrible at math. 49 minus 13, whatever, something years,
36, I believe. 36? No. Yes? I was trying to
like
do quick
that.
math in my head. Someone's busting out a calculator to prove me wrong. No, I mean, I think that's, and I like that it goes and it seems to align with what you're saying about intuitive eating and mindful, being, mindful of what you're eating, especially because if that's what you grew up eating also. But I've heard definitely the Mediterranean diet. I'm a big fan of it as well. So I'm curious, I can't help but as my little trauma therapist brain just started my wheels turning when I think about how trauma can impact the female reproductive system and the fact that you moved and made such a huge transition in your life so young and at a time where you were, I don't know if you were going through puberty or if you were just at that. I mean, I don't know if that's something you remember. Do you remember if you were going through puberty when you moved?
So I remember going through puberty in Austria. That's when I got my first period. And so here's the thing.
And that was after you moved? The first time you moved?
So we didn't technically move, we escaped. The
Okay.
way it works is when you're born in a communist country,
Yeah.
you don't move to a different country. They don't.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. Okay, they
Right.
don't. You're not allowed to go anywhere. So
Right.
you have to escape, and in order to escape, you have to somehow get a visa to get out of the country, unless it's another communist country. So you can go to other communist countries without that much suspicion, but if you do end up in a capitalist country, it's a whole different thing. And so we escaped, and when you escape and you're defecting, in a sense, you go into the asylum country. In this case, it was Austria. There are many other asylum countries back then. I'm not familiar what's going on now. But you have Germany, Italy. There's all around. There are countries that take on political refugees. So you have to have a very specific political reason why you're escaping. It cannot be economic either, or
Right.
that was the case back then. And so you walk into the refugee camp. You put your hands up
Oh,
and you
wow.
say, "I am
So vulnerable.
surrendering." I'm surrendering. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they run you through a lot of background checks. So that's just the beginning of it, right? So they start running your background checks. They need to make sure you're not a criminal, you're not being hunted by the law, you're not wanted by the law, you didn't commit any, you're not a murderer, you're not a KGB agent, all these
Yeah.
things. And so you stay in this camp. It's a one big giant room, and they sort people by male, female, or families. Families ended up staying together, and you stay there for about 30 days, and you're questioned. It's like a prison; you can't leave. So we did that for about 30 days, and then they transfer you over to a hostel a little bit farther inland, right? So it's not near the capital. And so that's where I learned Austrian, Czech, Polish, Russian, Serbian. I spoke all the
Oh
languages.
my goodness. Our brains are very different. I mean, I admire that. I'm terrible at
Yeah.
languages.
Well, I had no choice. I had
No,
because
yeah, I was
everybody.
going to say it's very American of me to be terrible at languages.
Yeah, I bet you're not. You're just not and haven't been in that situation. But all the other kids, they all spoke different languages. We didn't have a
Right.
common language, so we all learned each other's
Wow.
languages. And
Hmm.
that's when I got my period, and I thought I was dying. I thought I was bleeding out. Nobody told my mother didn't tell me. She never and
Yeah.
we never talked about that. Like, what?
Right. Hmm. So you
Yeah.
were 11 at the time or 11, 12, something like that?
I was almost 13.
Almost 13. Yeah, that piece and that's what and I appreciate your candidness and just being so honest about that. That piece really stands out to me when I think about what you went through as far as having gone through perimenopause and menopause a lot younger than you had expected. And I'm not saying this is hard and fast. I'm not saying this is like I'm doing, scientific mind reading or telepathy, but something in me believes that there may have been just that impact on the female reproductive system is very impacted by at what point in your cycle you experience trauma. So if you experienced a trauma during the phases of your cycle where you are supposed to be getting that shift in hormones, so you're shifting between the two phases, it can actually have more of an impact on your reproductive health.
Interesting.
Yes, and this is hard, fast science that I can pull the articles and the research if people want. And so I can't help but think about you at that really critical phase of development in your life, not knowing, if you were safe, feeling like you had to justify and support yourself in such a survival way where you're literally, like you said, absorbing languages and just taking in so much.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, as far as reproduction, my experience was that you would look at me and I'd get pregnant. Like it was like that.
Yeah.
And I was always bummed out by that. I was like, no, I want to try.
Well, I don't know what that's like because I was the opposite. No, but I want to hear. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, no, it was just like that. And thank goodness because I was done by 37. There was no getting pregnant after that. So
Well, I mean, that's a really interesting point, though, too, because when we think about reproductive health, it's not just can you get pregnant? It's also what is the quality of your
right.
cycles? How much pain are they? You had mentioned feeling
Oh yeah.
beastly, really angry during your cycles. Like how does our body like deal with those ebbs and flows hormonally? So reproductive health really is beyond can we get pregnant? And so I think about what it takes for there is some more recent science saying that we can't change the trajectory of menopause because it is natural. To your point earlier, it's the second teenagehood, they're calling it in a lot of ways. But we can impact the severity, the intensity, the veracity of it. And so it still makes me wonder or just speculate that there might have been something for you, that after having gone through that literally at the time where your body is transitioning
That is
through
such a
puberty.
great point. I never even thought about that. I did speak to another podcast host maybe last year where we were talking about the extreme PMS. I mean, I was always like that. I was just a maniac during PMS. And she said that that is the typical sign of progesterone issues during the cycle. And so I was like, wow, I had no idea. I mean, there's so much we don't know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah. Well, if you think about, like, let's take someone who is just experiencing the ebbs and flows, no pun intended, of a regular cycle. When we are taking good care of ourselves, doing the things that you recommend for your, do you call them clients, your coaching clients, your
well,
students, your clients?
clients.
Clients. If you have, while it takes up to 3 months for an egg to mature, and that's, for as far as fertility goes, it's not a month by month thing. We want to be mindful that what we're doing for the 3 months leading up to the month we get pregnant, that's the quality of that egg. But when we think about that particular cycle, the way you experience your symptoms, whether it be your perimenopause symptoms or your actual just run-of-the-mill menstruation symptoms, have so much to do with how you treated your body that month. And I can just say, full disclosure, I can tell it's the holidays because I'm kind of hitting be funny if I like timed this episode to come out at the same time for me in my cycle. But I'm hitting that point where I'm done with the follicular phase. I'm probably PMSing. I am so moody right now, not with you, my dear, but just in general, my poor husband.
I won't be offended.
No, 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 no. But like I can tell I'm just extra sensitive. My energy's a little lower and remarkably different from last month. And I think, what was I doing for myself this month? Oh, I traveled to New York for the holidays. I wasn't eating as well. I haven't been sleeping as much because there's all this holiday stuff and I keep forgetting to move that stinking elf on the shelf and all these
Oh, that
all
thing. Oh, I'm so
Oh my
happy I'm
gosh.
over that.
We tried to not do it and my daughter ended up asking for it. I was like, "Oh, okay, fine, we're doing it." But for any of you who do the like powdered sugar and the scenes and all that, hats off to you. That is not me. But I think about this month, I have not had as balanced of a month hormonally. So it makes a lot of sense that my symptoms of PMS are definitely more intense. So I think when I think about you and what you had gone through and that you were experiencing these really intense peaks and valleys, you also said that you were running on empty a little bit.
All the time.
Do you ever wonder why you felt the need to run on empty all the time?
Just in the immigrant mindset, you work yourself into the ground,
Yeah.
scarcity mindset, right? And so by the time I think I was 21, my whole family moved to Florida and I was going to college in Long Island,
Oh, we're in Long Island. That's where I was for Thanksgiving.
Stony
Where
Brook.
I I fantasized about going there because it was close to my family, but I ended up going upstate. So yes, it's a beautiful area of Long Island.
Yes. And so I stayed back. I stayed back up on my own. So if you can imagine, I had just gotten to this country at 13. By the time I was 20, I was on my own. I was paying my own rent. I was going to
Wow.
college. I was doing all these things. I had 3 jobs at one point, maybe 4 jobs, all at the same time, like a 9 to 5, 6 to 9 weekend, going to school, doing all these things, trying to have a life. It was I was living on all cylinders. Okay, it was nonstop.
So would you consider that if I were to say it feels like it was a trauma response and that was that flight mode, that was that energy that you were feeling or pulling into your life, does that resonate for you?
I don't know. I mean, I had a lot of energy. I
Yeah.
didn't at the time that these things were happening, I was 20, 25, 30 years old. I still have a ton of energy. And so I'm just like that. Like I just
Yeah.
like doing things. I go do stuff. I don't really think about it as a trauma response. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because no, I see you as far as like I'm relating to you also highly energetic person, also hyper curious person, also neurodiverse though. I don't know if you're someone who ever has considered yourself to have do you have ADHD? I don't know. I'm just
Probably. Oh
asking.
yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so the hyper curiosity and the energy. I think this is such a delicate dance of figuring out is it that? Is it just your fire, your strengths, all of that, which usually feels like one thing and it probably results in one thing physiologically versus trauma. So when I think about what you went through, and I think about what it takes to, like you're saying, having to work 4 jobs, maybe more at a time, to make your way through college and just being in your 20s. That to me feels like when it's something you have to do to survive, it feels like it aligns a little bit more with what I would consider a trauma response.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this very intentionally that trauma responses are not, they're not harmful all the time. They don't hurt us all the time. Otherwise, we would never have gotten into that physiological state of doing them. Like they actually keep us safe sometimes. They kept us safe at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when they continue beyond the time where they were needed that they run us ragged.
On point. Exactly. 100%. Mm-hmm.
And so I think about what you went through hormonally, even in your 30s. And again, for anyone listening, it is very normal for some people to start perimenopause in their 30s. And but what you were saying, even just the speed at which, like you said, you were shocked because it took a much shorter time than you expected. It feels like your hormonal health was matching with what you had to do in your life.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Now the body absorbs all the things that we're not willing to face, that we're not willing to acknowledge or to be aware of. And just because the mind refuses to, you know, be aware of this behavior and you just kind of shove it in the back seat, it doesn't mean it's not sitting on your back.
Yes.
Literally, right? And it is
Yes.
weighing you down and it is doing things to you, even if you're not aware of it. It's a lot of these trauma responses, in my opinion, they live in your blind spot. And it requires another person to look at you and say, have you seen that thing that's hanging on your shoulder? How long has that thing been there? And it's like, what are you talking
Yes.
about?
Right.
Right? Because they have to live there, or they're not going to be trauma responses.
Right. So who was that for you? That who said, "Hey, something's hanging on your shoulder"?
My gosh. So one of the first people that actually did have a legitimate conversation with me was an integrative doctor here in New Jersey. Her name is Stephanie Solaris. She has a practice in Bedminster, New Jersey. And it was a 2 hour conversation about, because I thought all these things were happening to me, like all my perimenopause symptoms were happening to me because I was fat, right? So like that's what everybody said. I ended up in the hospital twice with what I thought were heart attacks, but they ended up being massive panic anxiety attacks.
Oh my goodness, that's scary.
And this was about the same age. Like that's when everything kind of kicked off for me around 37. I was having all kinds of alcohol problems. I was drinking. I was all kinds of things, right? And I was 80 pounds overweight. And so they sent me to a cardiologist. The cardiologist said, you're fine. There's a heart murmur, but you're not having a heart attack, or I don't see any signs of you having a heart attack. You need to lose weight, like basically is what they said. And so I started on this quest. I talked to Stephanie Solaris, and she talked to me for about 2.5 hours. And I had never gone to a doctor that talked to me for 2.5 hours. And at the end of the conversation, she said, wow, you have been through a lot. And I was like, so like, I was just like, whatever. Like, I don't
It's
see
what
it.
you were used to.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was the first time I realized like, oh, wow. So a lot of these behaviors that I'm participating in right now could be kind of like inherited from who knows how long ago, that I'm just reenacting over and over again. And that's when the lights came on they came on. And that's the other thing. People always think it's a switch, right? It's like, oh, you're going to work with somebody and instantly you're going to be enlightened and the switch is going to come on. No, it's a
That's
dimmer.
what my clients say. No, I'm just kidding.
Sometimes it happens, but
Yeah, it's kismet sometimes, but yes, it's a process. It's a relationship building process.
I was slow, okay?
Mm.
It took multiple times. And so that was the first one. Then I started investigating and I was like, oh, wow, like look at that thing over there that you're doing. And look at this other stupid thing you're doing over here. And you're so
Like
completely
about
unaware.
yourself.
Yeah, about myself.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And then I started noticing, oh, so you eat a whole chocolate cake every time you feel upset? Oh, wait a minute. Let's let's analyze this a little bit. Let's see,
Yeah.
when is the next time it's going to happen? Oh, you're sad because you're missing somebody and you just ate a whole jar of Nutella. Interesting, interesting. Let's keep going here and exploring this whole interesting set of behaviors. And so little by little, I realized, yeah, like I deal with my emotions by stuffing them, and by eating them.
I love the thing that you just said that really strikes me even more so than a giant chocolate cake is the way you handled it. You did not berate. Well, maybe you used to, but once you got to this point, amazing. You met yourself with curiosity, which is the cornerstone. We've talked about internal family systems here on the pod sometimes, and it's a way of looking at the self as multiple selves. Like, so you can actually almost do self therapy. Like, what was that about that day that made me want to eat all the Nutella or all the chocolate cake? Instead of, oh, why did I do that? That's so stupid. Like, you met yourself with curiosity. That's really beautiful.
You know what I've realized is when you let yourself feel the feelings that you're of trying to avoid, you cannot berate yourself because you realize, when you allow the true feeling to seep into you, right? And you don't block it, how can you berate someone who's sad and grieving and missing somebody and it's really
Point.
genuine?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, oh, that's what's really happening. And you're just sad and grieving and you're missing, whoever, your grandmother, your mother, whoever, right? So, in that moment, berating somebody for that is monstrous, right? So you wouldn't
Agree.
even want to do it to yourself. But the way that we get away with doing it to ourselves is because we don't actually allow ourselves to feel the feeling. And then it's easy to be a monster because we don't understand. There's no connection there. We're disconnected from our own internal being, right? And so, yeah, I can berate myself, but it wouldn't be honest because I would be using the beratement as an excuse not to feel the feelings.
I really love that so much. You've just said that in a different way than I've heard it before because we know that self-compassion is the ideal. We hope we can practice self-compassion. A lot of us struggle with that, especially if you grew up in a critical space or home or you have rejection sensitive dysphoria or anything like that. But the way you just said, we can't possibly be mean to someone that we know how they actually feel. Like you really feel what they feel. If you can direct that at yourself, it's a reason to feel what you feel. A lot of people get really uncomfortable or they say, what's the point of me just going through the feeling? Or what's the point of me talking about this? It's not going to change anything. But you just said how it could. Because if you feel the feeling, even if it's super uncomfortable, if you can find a way to tolerate it for just long enough to empathize for yourself, you will be so much more creative and think of so many other ways to take care of yourself. That's a beautiful way to put that, Terry. Thank you.
Absolutely. And same thing with all the other feelings, right? So when you're angry, really feel it, feel the anger. Like, why? What are you, where is that coming from? Because it's never just that one thing. There's always a big pile, right?
Mm,
So, like, for example, you get angry at a family member about, let's say, leaving crumbs on the floor. It's never really about the crumbs on the floor. There's years and years and years of things And a lot of times we get gaslighted, like, oh, what's the big deal? It's just crumbs on the floor. Well, no, it's years of unexpressed frustration, right? That you have the right to feel, and they're valid. And
And it could also be a dip in your estrogen too.
it could, yes.
You could be getting a hormonal dip too, which to that point, I say for anyone listening, say it. You know, if you're feeling that way and you feel like was my reaction to the crumbs because of unexpressed repressed grief or anger, express that. If it was not and it was because of a dip in hormones, express that. The whole point is we don't need to silence ourselves about our process and what we're experiencing in general.
It's usually a combination.
Exactly. So, Terry, can I ask you, for anyone listening who maybe saw a little bit of themselves in your story, maybe they think back to their adolescence and think, oh gosh, I experienced these terrible things during that time in my life. Am I just, you know, out of luck now? Am I just going to have this terrible experience with menopause and perimenopause and oh, I'm doomed. What would you say to them to leave them with a little bit of hope and self-agency about what they can do going forward?
Menopause is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, how are you feeling now that you're on the other side? I actually want to
Oh
know.
my gosh, I'm a big fan of menopause.
Really?
I'm not even joking. This has been the best time of my life because I have finally learned to tell everybody to F off.
You have
I
like the best of both worlds.
I just, my kids now say, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? I just use that as my excuse. I'm in menopause. Leave me alone. I love it. I love it. You can get pregnant, which is a good thing sometimes if you think about it, if you don't want to get pregnant anymore, right? So you could pivot that in the direction that you want. You feel so more leveled out, okay?
Okay, that's hopeful.
Yes, and I joke around all the time. Humor is how I deal with trauma. So
Right.
I joke around and I say, I'm like a dude now. I've got the mood swings of a dude in a female body because I don't have that crazy roller coaster anymore. And that was rough, okay? Like,
Yeah, it sounded like it was.
yeah, so I'm really enjoying this like smooth kind of sail. I have a lot of friends that still have really insane PMS, and I'm like, thank God I'm out of that. No, thank you. I can't say bad things about it. Now, caveat, right? Big, big caveat. Completely changed my lifestyle
Right. So that's a big
starting.
part of feeling the way you feel because you can still have hormonal dips even if you're not PMSing, if you're not treating yourself
That's
well.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. I lift weights 4 to 5 times a week. I walk, just general activity level throughout my day, 10 to 12,000 steps a day. And I will jump on my Peloton for about 35 minutes
I
per
love my
day.
Peloton. We need to find each other on there.
Yes. And I eat five meals per day, heavy on protein. So I would say currently I'm eating about 145 grams of protein, 130 grams of carbs, and 45 grams of fat, all broken down into 5 meals. I'm very consistent with my food. So you won't see me eat one day 600 calories and the next day 3,000 calories.
Right, because you're asking for hormonal chaos with that.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And that is what I see on a regular basis with women that I work with well, women that I work with don't do that, but women that are looking to work with me once I do
Yeah.
an audit on their nutrition, that's the most common thing I see. One day 600, one day 3,000, one day 700, one day 1,200. It's all over the place. And so the
Right.
body doesn't know, when am I going to get fuel? When am I going to have the energy sources to perform my normal required bodily
Right.
functions? And when the body does not get the fuel or the right energy in the right quality of energy, it starts borrowing from your endocrine system, your hormonal system, your adrenal system, all your systems. It starts taking reserves from the rest of your systems in order to be able to function, right? And then take away your sleep. So now not only are you not eating consistently, but
Right.
you're not sleeping well consistently. You're not moving your body consistently, right? You're losing muscle mass, which muscle tissue actually regulates a lot of the systems in the
Do you
body.
take creatine? Just curious. There's been
Yes.
some. Okay, I was going to say I just started taking it just because I heard so much good stuff about it. So stay tuned.
Consistently, right? So creatine, same thing, consistently, habit stack it right on top of your coffee or tea or whatever you have in the morning, 3 to 5 grams every single day, like clockwork, right? Collagen is another thing. I only take 3 things. I take collagen, creatine, and protein powder.
Do you take vitamins?
Nope.
Oh, we have to have a whole nother conversation about that. um, I'm so curious about that, but maybe I'll have to have you come on to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of all of this. But I really appreciate you saying a little bit about what normally works for you, and some of the things that you're saying really align with our chemistry, because when we think about sleep windows of when our body is most likely to hormonally prepare for sleep, you are so spot on, Terry, that our body will also have metabolic windows where it becomes used to eating at certain times. And so it will actually prepare for digestion during those times. So if you are missing your eat windows, just like you miss your sleep window, you can have crashes in metabolism and or more irritability or things that happen to destabilize your mood. So I love that you talk about the consistency, and that can be hard if you're on the go. So a lot of my clients, I always ask them, please keep some protein in your car or something that you like, whatever that might be for you, just on hand, because it does help, especially if we think about sensitive nervous systems. Sensitive nervous systems are so much more vulnerable to the peaks and valleys and the spikes of hunger. So I love the advice that you give. And can I ask you, Terry, if anyone is listening and they just relate to your story or to your method or the way that you treat yourself and your clients, where can they find you? Where can they learn about your programs? And what would be one thing you'd like them to do today? One simple thing you'd like them to do that you'd like to leave them with today?
One simple thing you can do today is just go out for a walk, try and hit 10,000 steps throughout the house or at work, at workplace, or just stand up every couple of hours, walk around, get some movement in, because walking is actually the best way to maintain your weight. And to increase your mood and your satisfaction just in general with movement. And it's the easiest thing to do. We're designed to
Right.
walk.
We're made to walk. Good point.
Yes, and carry things, okay? Walking and carrying things is what our bodies are designed to do. We're the only species on this planet that is able to do that with our hands, right? Carry things with our hands. And so we're designed for that. And then, yeah, so if you're curious, you can find me on www.thehouseofrose.com, or you can find me on Instagram. How good can it get? And I just started TikTok and YouTube. It's midlife bestie.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Terry, for coming on. And I hope everyone here is able to unplug, head outside. Maybe you're already walking. Maybe you were walking while listening, even better.
Yes.
And be well, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Kelley, for having me.
You're
It was
welcome.
a pleasure.
Thank you for coming.